Hey everyone, let's talk about something that trips up almost everyone trying to overcome social anxiety. These are the myths that make progress so much harder than it needs to be. And honestly, the more seriously you take your recovery, the more likely you are to fall into these traps. The perfect conversation trap. Here's what most people think success looks like. Having a smooth conversation, saying the right things, coming across as confident and natural. But that's not what success actually is. Real success is simpler than that. It's showing up even when you're terrified. It's staying in the room for 30 seconds when everything in you wants to run. It's saying one shaky sentence instead of staying silent. Your voice can crack, your face can turn red, you can stand there without saying a word. None of that matters. What matters is that you didn't run away. Think about it like this. If someone with a fear of heights stands on a second-floor balcony for just 10 seconds, even if they're gripping the railing and sweating, that's massive win. They didn't need to enjoy it or look relaxed. They just needed to not flee. When your body freaks out, let me guess, when your heart starts racing during a conversation, you think you're failing. When your hands shake, you think, here we go again, my social anxiety is ruining everything. But here's the thing. Those physical reactions aren't the enemy. They're actually proof that the training is working. Desensitization is all about teaching your nervous system a new lesson. And that lesson is, I'm having all these scary physical sensations, and I'm still okay. Nothing terrible is happening. Your racing heart isn't a problem to fix. It's the curriculum. It's like how your muscles have to feel uncomfortable when you're building strength. The discomfort is the point. Waiting for the magic moment. A lot of people approach social anxiety like they're waiting for some kind of breakthrough. Like one day they'll wake up and suddenly they just won't be anxious anymore. They'll walk into a room full of strangers and feel completely calm. That day isn't coming. And that's actually good news because you don't need it to come. Desensitization doesn't make the anxiety disappear. It teaches you to move forward with the anxiety present. Think about driving a car. You don't wait until roads are completely safe with zero risk. You learn to drive carefully despite the inherent risks. The goal isn't to eliminate nervousness, it's to stop letting nervousness make your decisions for you. The skyscraper problem. Here's a pattern I see constantly. Someone decides to work on their social anxiety, and their first challenge is something massive. They want to speak up in a big meeting. They want to approach someone attractive at a party. They want to deliver a presentation like a TED Talk. This is like someone who's never lifted weights before walking into a gym and trying to bench press 200 pounds. You're not weak for struggling with that. You're just attempting something that's way beyond your current level. Real progress happens in tiny increments. Maybe your first step is just making eye contact with a cashier. Then next time you add thanks at the end. Then maybe you ask them how their day is going. Small steps aren't less valid. They're literally how everyone builds this skill. The test you can't pass, when you treat every social interaction like an exam you need to ace, you've already lost because you're not there to practice anymore. You're there to perform perfectly. And perfect is an impossible standard. Imagine learning to play guitar but treating every single practice session like you're performing at Carnegie Hall. You'd never improve because you'd be too terrified to make mistakes. Desensitization training has only one passing grade. Did you stay instead of running away? That's it. That's the whole test. If you stayed, you passed. Nothing else matters. Collecting evidence of failure. Your brain is incredibly good at finding reasons to call something a failure. You stuttered? Failure. You went quiet for a few seconds? Failure. Someone looked at you weird? Failure. You felt awkward? Definitely failure. But none of those things are actually failures. There's only one real failure in desensitization, and that's avoiding the situation entirely because fear told you to. Everything else, the awkwardness, the stumbling over words, the long pauses, the blushing, all of it, that's just data. That's your nervous system learning. You can't learn to tolerate discomfort without experiencing discomfort. The if-only fantasy, it's so tempting to think, if only the other person were more understanding, if only the environment were more comfortable, if only people were friendlier, then I wouldn't be anxious. But social anxiety doesn't work that way. It's not caused by the environment being difficult. It's caused by your threat detection system being overly sensitive. Other people can't fix that for you, no matter how kind they are. It's like having a car alarm that goes off when someone walks by. Making people walk more quietly doesn't fix the alarm. You need to recalibrate the sensor itself. The spotlight effect. When you're socially anxious, you're absolutely convinced that everyone notices everything. They definitely saw you blush. They're definitely judging you for being quiet. They obviously think you're weird for taking so long to respond. But here's what's actually true. Most people are way too busy thinking about themselves to scrutinize you that closely. Think about the last time you were in a group. Can you remember exactly how everyone else behaved? Probably not, right? You were too focused on your own experience. Everyone else is doing the same thing. Desensitization helps you test these beliefs. You blush and nobody comments. You're quiet and the conversation moves on. You take a while to respond and people just wait. Over time, you gather evidence that your fears aren't reflecting reality. Chasing natural. Here's a trap that catches almost everyone, trying to appear natural and effortless. But that's not what you're training for. You're not building social skills right now. You're building distress tolerance. You're learning to be okay with being 70% instead of perfect. You're learning to tolerate feeling shaky. You're learning to stay present when things feel uncomfortable. That's the skill you're actually missing, not the ability to be smooth and charming, but the ability to be imperfect and still keep going. The logic trap. Maybe you've tried to think your way out of this. You tell yourself, people don't care that much about me. There's no real danger here. Social situations are safe. I'm catastrophizing. And you're right. All of that is logically true. But social anxiety isn't a logic problem. It's a nervous system problem. Your brain understands that a party is safe, but your body is reacting like you're facing a predator. You can't reason with a panic response any more than you can reason with a reflex. The only way to retrain your nervous system is through experience. You have to show your body over and over that the threat it's detecting isn't real. Words don't do that. Only experience does. The real measure of success. So here's what it all comes down to. Desensitization isn't about learning to be smooth, confident, or natural in social situations. It's about learning to take action while feeling anxious. Every single time you feel that fear rising and you stay anyway, even for just a moment, you're succeeding. Every time you let yourself be imperfect in front of others, you're winning. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need to wait until the anxiety goes away. You just need to take one small step forward while feeling afraid. That's how you get your life back. Not by becoming fearless, but by refusing to let fear be in charge anymore. So next time you're in a social situation and your heart is pounding and your mind is screaming at you to leave, remember, just by being there, you're already doing the work. You're already succeeding. The rest is just details.